What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to do something a little different. We're gonna check out a guitar plug-in. Well, a couple of guitar plug-ins and a bass plug-in. Don't know if you guys have ever heard of the band Trivium, but they're one of my all-time favorite modern metal bands. And they just came out with a really cool plug-in suite. It's got 2 guitar plug-ins and a bass plug-in. And I think it's really neat. So I did a demo with it. I'm going to go ahead and hit you guys with a demo right off the bat. We're going to try something a little different here. So we're going to listen to the demo. I used only their plugins on the guitars and bass. Well, not only their plugins, but I mean like for the general tones, just their plugins. No other guitar or bass sim plugins except the Trivium ones. So we're going to listen to this demo, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about the plugins, and I'm actually going to kind of show you guys like the Reaper session with the plugins and kind of like what I did. I'm going to kind of just like walk you through recording this demo more or less, because I think that would be neat. So maybe you guys would think it'd be neat too. So here's the demo, and then we'll be back and we'll check this Reaper session out. Here we are, we're in my Reaper session. So let's take a look at these plugins. So this is the amp knob Trivium by Bogren Digital. So like I said, there's 3 different versions of this plugin. So, well, I shouldn't say 3 different versions of this plugin. They're 3 totally different plugins, but this is the rhythm one, right? And so this, to me, it's very, like, knowing what I know about Trivium, this is probably a 5150. Like, this is super 5150 feeling and sounding, right? So the cool thing that I like about these Bogren plugins, right, is that you only have like the one knob. So the whole point of this plugin is kind of like, you load it up, there it is, you got your tone, like, you can make it dirtier or a little cleaner by backing off the gain. That's about it, right? But there are some kind of like hidden controls in this, so it's not as one-dimensional as you might think. Like, for example, well, let's see. For example, like, I mean, you can turn it on and off, which, whatever, okay. But this, so when it's on green, this is actually like a clean channel. And if you come over here to your settings, when you're on the clean channel, you have a little bit of reverb, and you can control the parameter of the reverb. That's really cool. I didn't use that in the demo, but that's a really neat feature. You can also control the parameters of your noise gate. So there's that. Well, you can control the threshold, but and then like this middle yellow setting is kind of like a crunchy setting, and then red is like Trivium time, riffs, breakdowns, yay, heavy stuff, right? So you got a built-in tuner, which is cool. I think every plugin should have a built-in tuner. Like, if I have to leave the plugin to go tune using some other thing, like, that irritates me. So I'm glad it does have a built-in tuner. So this one has 2 cabs. They got the modern cab and the vintage cab. The modern cab was not my favorite. It was a little boomy. It had a lot of low end in it. I didn't dig it a whole lot. The vintage cab was a lot nicer, I thought. You can load your own IRs through this plugin, which is cool. So if you have your own cab sims, you can use them in this. You can also go no cab for some reason. Okay, cool. You know, your kind of basic like input gain, output level stuff there. So that's cool. Yeah, that is the rhythm one. So the thing I wound up doing on my guitars, on my rhythm guitars, was, so since this doesn't have any kind of like, you know, more expansive controls like in the plugin, I guess they're kind of thinking like you're going to do one of two things with these, right? Like you're either going to load it up, there it is, you're just jamming, you have like a very close approximation to like a chunky 5150 metal tone. There it is. You can just get to write and get to jamming without having to really mess around with a whole lot of stuff. Or if you're going to use it on a final mix, you know, for like a record or something like that, you're going to do a whole bunch of this kind of stuff anyway. You're going to do post EQs and your own like compression, and like you're going to do all this kind of mic pre-emulation. You're going to do all this kind of stuff anyway in like post-processing. So like why bog the plugin down with a whole bunch of built-in stuff that like you probably have better versions of anyway, right? So I kind of see what they're getting at. Like when I first heard about this company, I kind of thought like, man, I don't know, a plugin with one knob, like what's the point? But once you really get into like doing this type of recording, you kind of understand like, well, you really don't need any more than that. Like I'm going to change out all my different cab IRs, and I've got all these like post EQs and mic pre's and stuff, right? Like you're going to use all that stuff anyway. So you really just need like a good bass tone, right? And then you can build from there post EQ. So I get it. It makes sense. And then I got a little bit of this the Slate virtual mix rack. I use this on like everything because it just has all kinds of stuff in it. Like I said, equalizers, compressors, mic preamps, right? So I'm just treating this like the front EQ panel of the amp, right? Got my bass, my middle, you know, bass, high mids, low mids, treble, right? Like, and then this is just a mic pre. Like if you were plugging into an actual console in a studio, this is mimicking a mic preamp. That's it. So that's what I got going on my rhythm guitars. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but the DAW that I'm using is a Reaper, and I've just been using Reaper a long time. I know I know my way around it. That's why I'm using it. So when I'm doing rhythm guitars, I got one rhythm guitar all the way to the left and one rhythm guitar all the way to the right. Tracked, not copied, right? Don't copy your tracks. It doesn't have the effect you think it has. You need to play both rhythm tracks left and right and then hard pan them. That's how you get that nice, like, wide, sound. Let's see. All right, here's the lead one. I should have labeled my things. I only got 5 tracks, so I didn't bother labeling it. But if I was, like, making a record, I would have labeled all this stuff. Here's the lead one. So, the lead knob, I really like the aesthetic of the lead knob. I just think it's cool looking. I like the big gold knob. This one does not feel like a 5150 to me. That doesn't mean it isn't a 5150, but if you want to get real nerdy, this right here, again, this is just me grasping at straws, right? But this right here, this kind of like paisley Tolex pattern on the side of the amp here. I mean, have you ever seen a Bogner Ubershaw? That's all I'm saying. Right, and who knows, right? But the cool thing about this plugin is you have these 2 effects here, right? Delay is delay. Okay. This one's neat, though. It's like a chorus and like a doubling effect. Hey, Corey, right? Corey from Trivium, right? That, haha, okay. You hit open here, and it opens up the parameters for the effects. So they lied. It isn't amp knob. There's like 5 more knobs in this. I'm just kidding, whatever. But this is cool that you actually get like some parameter control of the effects. you can sync it to like your tempo in your DAW. It has like a ping pong effect. So a lot of neat stuff going on there. This also does have a pan. The rhythm one didn't have that. So you can pan this like within the effect or within the plugin, which I mean like you can just do it in your DAW too. So I don't really, whatever. Okay. Again, input gain, output volume. The tuner. This one only has one cab, but it does have the, you can load your own IRs, all that stuff, right? Same deal, you can control the parameter of the noise gate there. So that's cool. I really like the lead one. I like the lead one a lot more than I like the rhythm one. Not that I didn't like the rhythm one, just like, it's a 5150. Cool. Like, I've got like 4 other plugins on my computer that are 5150s. You know what I mean? Like, so it didn't really like present anything to me different than I already had. Other than just like the simplicity of it, I didn't have to mess around with like going into a plugin that has a whole bunch of presets and crap built into it, right? Like, so other than that, it was just like a good 5150. I mean, it's not bad, like it's a good 5150 sound, but this I thought was a lot more interesting. Had a really neat tone, and you can turn the delay and the choreo effect off, and you can just use this as a rhythm tone. It actually sounds pretty good. It's really tight. So I dug that, but I just wound up using the rhythm one because, there it is. I will say this, the rhythm one has a lot more low end in it than this one does. So, that might be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what you're looking for. But they complement each other very well, which is, I mean, of course, it's designed by 2 guys in a band whose tones are meant to complement each other very well. So they do complement each other very well. Same deal, some EQ, and then the mix rack. Last but not least, the bass. The bass one's real cool, and it's a lot simpler. Like, you got the drive knob, you can make it clean or dirty. I got the gain about cranked up. You got your input and output, right? Again, only one cab here, but you can load your own IR, so you got a gate parameter control. The bass one I really liked because bass is one of those things, like, to me anyway, like when I find the bass tone, I don't want to be experimental with my bass tone. I just very rarely ever do. Like, I've got a bass tone and I like it and I use it on everything. And I don't like a very dynamic bass tone. So I don't know if you've ever listened to Trivium, but Paulo, their bass player, does not have a very dynamic bass tone. And like, you hear that word a lot, like dynamic, like, oh, this guitar was so dynamic, right? For some genres of music, sure, you want an instrument that's dynamic, like you pick softer, the instrument cleans up and gets softer. You pick harder, it breaks up, it gets louder, right? I don't want that for bass, especially in a metal band or a hardcore band or something like that. I don't want that. I want a super compressed bass sound that is super consistent. All the notes are the same volume and the same intensity. Like, I do not want a dynamic metal bass tone. I want a compressed, consistent metal bass tone. And this plugin is it. And Paulo's bass tones are that. Like, they are bright, punchy, compressed, consistent. Like, yeah, they're awesome metal bass tones. I've always thought Paulo has had an awesome metal bass tone for years. So it's cool to kind of have his ideas in a plugin, and like, you load it up and it's just boom, there it is. Like, especially if you're using any kind of bass, like, I know he uses like Warwicks and stuff a lot, and he uses he's used BC Rich basses in the past, and they have like a P bass pickup, kind of like more toward the bridge position. If you have a bass like that, or like an Ernie Ball Music Man with just like the humbucker by the bridge, this bass tone is going to be super aggressive, and I like that. So that's what this does. I did add some post EQ here, and you might be thinking like, well, if you like it so much, what's the deal here? The deal here is I wanted to shave a little bit of this low end off, just because, low end. right? You want to leave some room for the kick drum and stuff like that. So shaved just a bit of low end off. Again, maybe this is just the bases I have. Your mileage may vary here, but I've found that when I'm recording bass, if I just throw an EQ behind it and I just yoink 500K out, like, it just works. Just pulling 500 hertz out, like I shouldn't say 500K. It's not 500K. It's 500 hertz. Don't destroy me in the comments for accidentally calling that 500K. But 500K would be like way up here somewhere, all right? Like off the chart. No, 500 hertz. Pulling 500 hertz out really makes the bass sound just sit well. Like, it kind of hollows a little bit of the middle of it out. It leaves a lot of room for the guitars. I found if I leave that in, the bass has a little too much mid-range and it's a little honky. And like, even on bass amps or like plugins that have full, EQ control in the plug-in, I'm always still throwing this on there and like pulling that out. So that's just something I do on basses. It works for me. Like I said, your mileage may vary. And I do have another compressor on this bass too, because I really like the distressor. And this is, Slate's kind of like digital version of that, the FG Stress. And this thing just does it. It just like slams the bass and makes it sound super consistent. It adds a little grit too, which I really like. And then, just a mic preamp like you'd be going into the board. So that's all I've got going on there. That is the Trivium amp knob, lead knob, bass knob plugins. These plugins, you can buy them all together as like a pack, and it's a little cheaper than if you buy them separately, but you can buy them separately, like if you just want one of them. There is a 14-day free trial. Definitely recommend that, so you can try them all out, and then if there's one you just like don't like, then you don't have to buy it. Yeah, so I guess to top it all off, I'll just show you guys my drums, because I really like these drums. This is the Easy Drummer 2, the Will Putney Modern Metal drum pack. I like the big and beefy kit. This drum set sounds so good. And you can see all I got on it's a limiter to like keep it from clipping a little bit, because these drum tones are just so well recorded that you really don't have to do a whole lot to them. You just kind of load them up and turn them on and they're good to go. So that's my drums. Real quick, my mastering chain. Again, another limiter. I really like this. This is the Eosis de-esser, I guess. This thing's cool. This thing is super cool. It's just like a master compressor. I think it sounds really good. It just really evens everything out. I really like it. Let's see what else is on there. I accidentally blew that up. I've got the Slate Digital tape machine. I don't know. Who knows if this does anything, right? I mean, it does something, but does it actually sound like a real tape machine? I don't know. But it does add some like warmth and some thickness back into the master mix that I really like. So I kind of just slap it on and everything, because it, like I said, it always beefs it up, makes it sound real good. So yeah, that is kind of my typical, chain of stuff as far as like drums and mastering and stuff goes, for like my YouTube videos and, any kind of demo stuff I do. I've been really working on refining it, and I'm almost comfortable to where I can like do my own final mixes without sending it off somewhere. I'm getting there. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting there. So yeah, those are the Trivium amp knob, the guitar plugins, because I know a lot of people are interested in this kind of stuff, home recording and stuff like that. So maybe I'll make a video kind of showing some of my other gear and my other home recording stuff, like my computer and stuff like that. So hope you guys dig it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, let me know what Bogren plugins do you like, because they make a whole bunch of other ones. So, have you tried any? Are there some I should check out? Let me know. I hope you guys liked the video, and I will be back soon. Thanks.